Alright, good morning everyone.
Morning.
You guys probably don't know me yet. My name is Ben.
Hello, Ben.
Level 2 from the Philippines. Currently I'm working as an editor under Judge QJ Wang for the Battlefield Forge. And today I'm here to talk to you about Judges Tables, a seminar on writing effective tournament reports. Before we begin, can I just have a quick show of hands? How many people in this conference have written a tournament report and posted it in the forums? Okay, that's quite a number. I hope that I still managed to share something of value with you today. Can I have a show of hands again? How many of you guys have not written a single tournament report? Alright, well, then this seminar is perfect for you. I hope we can equip you with tools which will help you write tournament reports in the future. Together, we will learn how to write effective tournament reports which achieve the purpose of such reports. So tournament reports are intended to be a lot like Aesop's fables, except for judges. Tournament reports are intended to share a lesson through a story. Your stories as you judge your tournaments. So let's begin. So what is a tournament report? So first, let's define a tournament report by saying what it's not. It's not tournament coverage. You're not trying to be Rich Hagon or Brian David Marshall, trying to give a blow-by-blow account of the tournament, highlighting the best decks, discussing the different lines of play that players could have taken. Instead, you highlight three things. Well, first, tournament reports are written by judges for judges, and they focus on three things which are very important in order to write an effective tournament report. So, tournament reports focus on, first, judging concerns. And second and third, tournament reports critically analyze tournament management and the experience of players at a tournament. So, normally, these areas are taken separately in the tournament report. However, to write effective tournament reports, I find that we must methodically examine these three areas and determine how they are interrelated. We can call these points of interaction. So let's check this out. At the Regional Judge Conference earlier this year in Singapore, this diagram was presented by Mick Lowe. At the tournament, it is inevitable for the members of the Magic community to interact with one another, within and without their respective spheres. As judges, however, we are in the best position to examine the areas of interaction between the members of the Magic community. Unlike the players, we are not busy trying to think of the best play. Unlike the tournament organizers, we are not occupied with multiple administrative concerns at any point in time. We are on the floor and we are soaking in information. So, in writing effective tournament reports, we now ask ourselves, how do we make these areas better? How do we judge better for the players? How can we improve the way tournaments are run for the tournament organizer? How can we improve the experience of our players with us as their judges? These questions are just at the surface of writing tournament reports. The answers are a little deeper, but they usually involve action in one or more of these areas. Right? So before we go any further, many of you may be asking, why am I doing this again? So now that we know what the tournament report is for and what it hopes to achieve, perhaps it's useful for us to ask ourselves, why do we write tournament reports? After me, QJ is going to talk. He's going to talk to you about the road to level 2. Most level 1s will probably know that in order to advance to level 2, you have to write a tournament report, publish it. But is that really why we write tournament reports? When I asked a while ago how many people wrote tournament reports before, there are some level 2s who raised their hands. If the purpose of writing a tournament report is to advance to level 2, then why do level 2 judges still write tournament reports? But the bottom line is every judge has a story to tell. And that story can potentially make Magic tournaments better in the future, either on its own or through the discussion that stems from other judges having read that story. So, how does one go about writing a tournament report? So writing everything you remember after the tournament with no particular method of organization is not very effective. Remember that you're on the floor, you're a sponge for information. You have to be alert, you have to soak everything in. Next, systematically take notes during the tournament. I find that, oops, where we go? Oh, there we go. Sorry. Right. So I find that organizing notes in the areas mentioned in the diagram earlier is a very effective method. So this can potentially bring to light different ways of improving the areas of focus. So let's look at an example to see how it's applied. So here is a concern between the players and the TO, the player-TO couple. Players registering on-site at the tournament were inconvenienced because the tournament organizers' attendance did not carry change. Those who could not pay the exact amount for registration were forced to wait before they could register. Now you see the table, you can think of possible solutions. Off the top of your head, this is probably very easy. So the first is to carry spare change for the players. So you can put this in the player-to-judge interaction column because it will be the players interacting with the judges asking for change, or players registering through the judges and expecting to receive change from the payment that they gave for the tournament. So while this may seem very heroic of you because you're carrying change for the players and you're making life very easy for them, this creates problems in the JTO column, as judges will lose focus on other tasks for the tournament organizer, such as preparing product, putting up pairing boards, and the like. So it also puts judges in a position of accountability where they are holding money that they're supposed to remit to the TO. And that with that amount that they're holding, part of that amount is actually theirs, the money that they brought to give change to the players. That has to be kept separate from the money that they will remit to the TO. There's so many inflows and outflows. So clearly, carrying change for the players is not a very good solution. The other potential solution is to remind the TO to prepare change for the players a couple of days before the event. This solution shows diligence on the part of the judges, while making sure that they will be free enough to take on judge-related tasks, like the one we mentioned earlier. So this is a good solution, and you can put this in the JTO column, because it will be the judge reminding the TO, okay, you will need to bring change for those who will be registering on site. So on top of this, you can find solutions for emergency scenarios by examining the other portions of the table. So if there's an emergency and the line gets really long and it's unmanageable and it looks like that the tournament is going to be set back because of on-site registration, you can think of a different solution, which is a judge can man an extra line for those paying exact in case lines get too long. So in this particular scenario, you can mix the first solution with and minimize the amount of disturbance that it's going to cause. So this is a one-way transaction. The amount that the judge will remit to the TO is the number of persons that he registered to the tournament times the entrance fee for the tournament. There is no inflow and outflow, and it shouldn't be too sophisticated. It's just one judge. So, but this is only for emergencies. So by organizing your notes at the onset, you will find it much easier to think of ways to improve the different areas of focus. You will know what to highlight in your report, and the lesson at the end of your table will be clear to you and your reader. So some other minor tips for writing your report: try to take some pictures of the tournament. That will make your report more colorful, and at the same time, don't delay writing. Your notes may be really organized during the tournament, but if you wait like 6 months later before you write the tournament report, maybe you would even struggle to interpret your own notes. So don't delay writing. So let's briefly go over the format of a basic report. So according to Dorian Enders, a typical tournament report will include the following sections: tournament information, pre-event procedures, interesting rulings and observations, and key takeaways. So we will go over these parts in greater detail over the next few slides. So the first part of the report is tournament information. So this usually includes the following: for those who have written tournament reports, the name of the tournament, format, the rules enforcement level, the number of players, the names of the judges, and other pertinent details. So when writing this section, try to limit content to what is necessary for your reader to understand the tournament. So just be practical. For example, if you're trying to write about the first day of a large GP in Japan, and there's a judge team of 120 judges, don't write the names of the 120 judges in your report. just write the names of the head judges and the names and roles of the judges that you will be talking about in your report, those who will actually form part of your report. So try to keep it to those details. Other pertinent details include anything that your reader might need to put your report into context. Like for example, if you're judging a tournament that offers massive cash prizes, similar to those offered in a GP, but it's not a GP, it might be good for you to tell your reader that that is the case. Because that will help your reader understand why every round there is a rule sharking scenario. What a player like rule shark another player because the prizes are so big and everything's so important. So, what's the bottom line? The bottom line is that you need to put your reader at the tournament with you. So this portion is supposed to set your context for the event. So let's go to the next section, which is pre-event procedures. So much like the tournament information section, writing about pre-event procedures helps you give your reader a feel for the tournament that you judged. So note down any observations that you made during tournament setup. The table that we used earlier is useful again here. Let's look at an example. So for this example, once again in the PTO column, the tournament organizer requested mall security to let players in before mall hours. So this is what you wrote down during the event in your notes. So as you prepare to write your report, revisit your observations, and try to see what came out of the actions you observed during tournament setup. So for the example, the result was that on-site registration was completed on time. Had the tournament organizer waited for the mall to open and he announced that the tournament would start 15 minutes before the mall opened, then on-site registration would have probably caused a delay in the tournament. Reflect on that result. Did anyone benefit from this? Well, for this scenario, it's possible that everybody benefited. The players, the judges, the TO, they all got to go home on time because of this action. And the tournament finished on time. There was no delay. Also, try to think of how the action can be done better through an interaction in the other areas. So, for example, for this scenario, the writer realized that it's also good to remind the mall, but for the tournament organizer to remind the mall, can you please turn on the air conditioning before mall hours? If it's possible, please turn it on. Because we will have an influx of players before mall hours when the air conditioning is off. The venue will become uncomfortable for the players, the tournament organizers, the staff, and the judges. So this can be done better by telling that to the mall because you're talking to their staff anyway. So looking at the results will help you recall why a particular action was done in the tournament. It will also help you realize why the action should or should not be repeated in future tournaments. Remember that you're writing a story, which aims to teach a lesson to the other judges who will be reading that story. So give your readers reasons to adopt your best practices and at the same time learn from your mistakes. The next section is on existing ruling. So featuring all judge calls over the course of a tournament is not practical. In determining whether or not a call should be part of your report, ask this question. What can other judges learn from this call? Later on, as you prepare to write, you decide what's worth highlighting. So you can highlight various things like party interaction, player-to-judge interaction, player-to-player interaction, the investigation process, as what was mentioned in the report weekend, and the decision-making process. And any other things that might seem noteworthy, and other judges will learn something from this. So I'll share a brief anecdote with everybody. So earlier this year, QJ asked me to edit the tournament report by Judge Manny Cavalieri, which featured a scenario at PPTQ. At that PPTQ, there was a middle-aged guy who was really mad at the 12-year-old boy that he was playing against. So the man accused the boy of causing him to miss his triggers on retreat to Kazandu, which would have allowed him to gain enough life to avoid taking lethal damage the following turn. The man said that because of this boy, the boy was rushing him during his turn and repeatedly turning his cards around so that he could read the cards. And because the boy was doing that, he forgot his triggers. And as a result, despite playing multiple lands at turn, his side of the battlefield that turn, he forgot to announce the triggers on retreat to Kazandu. Upon investigation, Manny was shocked to determine that the boy was actually the guy's son. So the man was accusing the boy as if he was a total stranger. However, Manny felt that the boy acted that way because he's so familiar with father. They play at the kitchen table at home, and he's just doing what he normally does in a home-based setting. He had sufficient justification to rule in favor of either one. So, taking the IPG route, he can rule in favor of he can rule that the father missed his triggers because he failed to announce the triggers the first time they would make a visible impact on the game state. Similarly, he has justification to rule in favor of the son because following IPG philosophy on miss triggers, you cannot cause your opponent to miss triggers by rushing them through their turn or by accelerating phases. Okay, so there, Manny had justification for ruling in favor of either one. So Manny's report highlighted the unique circumstances of player-to-player interaction. That was the focus, which made him consider the aftermath of his ruling during the investigation process. Had he ruled in favor of the son, the father's reaction, it's possible for the father's reaction to be worse. So he can just tell the son, okay, the judge sucks, the judge did not rule in my favor, we are leaving, we are dropping from this tournament, we're going home. And that could potentially end very badly. If he rules in favor of the son, there's still the possibility, in favor of the father rather, there's still the possibility that the father will tone down, and over the course of the tournament, things will be okay. Manny also chose to highlight the decision-making process, which made him consider the message of his ruling. If he rules in favor of the son, he will basically be saying, alright, sorry, this is competitive REL. And if you fail to announce your trigger the first time it would make a visible impact on the game state, then it is considered missed. And I do not find anything out of order with what your son is doing. If he rules in favor of the father, he is basically saying, while you are held to a higher standard of play at a competitive event, hurrying your opponent, accelerating phases, moving their cards excessively is not acceptable. You have to respect your opponent's boundaries, and if you need any oracle text or any kind of clarification whatsoever, don't flip it or turn their cards. Just call a judge, and we will help you out. Manny decided that that message was more satisfying than the first message. Identifying what you want to highlight in a call allows you to focus on what you want your readers to learn. In the example mentioned above, Manny taught his readers to be more diligent in investigating the actions of players at the tournament. He encourages his readers to look for the reasons behind the actions of players during an investigation, especially if their behaviors are unusual. So Manny managed to teach his readers the value of considering the message of their rulings before actually giving it. This method is not applicable to all judge calls. However, this method becomes valuable when the focus is no longer the cards on the table, but on the interaction between players. Alright, now that we've covered the basic portions of a tournament report, let's focus on how to make the report an effective tool to teach other judges and facilitate discussion. So, making the report effective. This is where we deviate from the prescribed format of Dorian Anders, which we showed earlier, and adopt the perspective of Dr. Feingold. Feingold says reports should be critical and analytic. He is correct. Adding to his perspective, however, we should consider the report as a series of tables about a tournament, which impart a timeless lesson that judges can apply in the future. Thus, we have to highlight important details. So, have you ever experienced telling somebody a story, and then after you tell another person that story, the person says, okay, that's a nice story, but I don't understand the ending. That's probably because you missed out on an important detail, or the important details got lost in the by-the-ways that you mentioned while telling the story. Fluffy reports full of side comments may appear more interesting, but they take focus away from the main point. Make your report flow. A flowing story is interesting. The challenge is for you to write a tournament report that is difficult to put down. If you want to see an example of a tournament report that is difficult to put down, you read it from beginning to end, check out the Battlefield Forge, look for the Manny Cavalry report. That is an example of a report that is very difficult to put down. Another tip to making the report effective is to consult other judges. Reports become more effective when you consult other judges and get different perspectives. just to share a brief story, while I was preparing this seminar, I was actually also preparing for the regional broker qualifier last week in Taiwan. I got absolutely destroyed in Taiwan. Thankfully, the report fared a little better. While I was preparing for deck building for the tournament in Taiwan, I happened to read a series of articles, and one of them was on the Next Level series by Patrick Chater. And Patrick, in writing that article, that work, talked about 4 perspectives on deck building. I actually found it very interesting that the same 4 perspectives are applicable when you write tournament reports. So let's go over these perspectives briefly and how they can add value to the tournament report. How can you use these different perspectives as a tool when you write tournament reports? So let's go over the first one. Top to bottom perspective. So imagine the tournament is a maze. A story about a maze with holes and other obstacles. So imagine that you're way above it. So it should look like the picture on the side. So this is the top to bottom perspective. This is a perspective that is commonly taken by judges when we write our tournament reports. We look from above, we look at the tournament, and we tell our audience what is. This is what happened. We were able to avoid these obstacles. We were able to overcome these challenges in our tournament report. So we highlight what's positive. This perspective is valuable because the judge helps others obtain a bird's eye view of what was done for the tournament to run successfully. Top to bottom perspective. Bottom to top perspective. So my mentor, Nick Yu from the Philippines, always told me that judges should remain positive, focusing on the good things, and will help you keep yourself going over the course of the tournament. Still, I find value in having someone on the team who has a nose for what's going wrong. This is the bottom to top perspective. So imagine the same maze from the picture earlier that we talked about, and you're underneath it. When you look up, you'll probably see something like that. You won't see the maze as a whole, but you will see exactly where the ball falls. Did you start doing the deck checks in round 4 instead of round 2 because you wanted to count all the deck lists first? Well, that's probably why you missed the deck check quota for the tournament. Were you careless? Did you not ascertain whether or not Melira came onto the battlefield before or after the Inkmoth Nexus became a 1/1 flying artifact creature with effect? Well, that's probably why you cost somebody a match at the WMCQ. The person with the bottom to top perspective is going to be able to tell you exactly where you stumble and highlight that. So this is valuable as well. Next, going back to the maze, imagine that you're standing at one of the entrances. So it should look like the image on the slide. So when you're standing at the entrance, you don't know where the pitfalls are, and you don't know how to navigate the maze. Wouldn't you wish that you were in the company of someone who has run similar mazes before? That person will be able to tell you exactly how to get to the end, what dangers to avoid, what landmarks to look for when you get lost, so that you can find your way again. This perspective, you can obtain this from the veteran on your judge team. You can talk to the worms, the fogs, the dogos, the wellas.
There's more than one form.
The QJs. Right? So they will be able to tell you how to run a tournament successfully from beginning to end. What they tell you, that represents the ideal, the best possible flow of things that you will compare your top to bottom perspective with. There is value in front to back perspective, top to the veterinary. Last, there is the back to the front perspective. So imagine having just run through the maze, and everything about the maze is a little bit fuzzy. You just remember the last few bends and turns before you made it up. So when you make it up, you'll probably look like the ball in the picture. And your memory of the maze will be as complete as the maze that you see in the picture. What you'll remember, however, are specific details spread out over the parts of the maze. So there's a lot of value in micro perspective. So you will see fine details without being distracted by the bigger picture. So the guy who has the back to front perspective will see your little victories when you fail. Similarly, if everything just went so well, the guy with this perspective is the most likely to see the tiny stumbles that you made along the way. So, who can you talk to? Talk to the new guy on the team. You talk to the L1 who is on staff for his first big event. You'll be surprised what that L1 says. There is value in micro perspective. So, based on the 4 slides, 4 judges involved, each with a different perspective, but they're all talking about the same tournament. If you limit yourself to top to bottom thinking, the odds of you missing out on something are far greater. Find key details to put your reader there at the tournament with you. You'll find those details in different perspectives. Choose the best perspective when narrating different scenarios in your tournament report. Next step out of the judge's comfort zone. So, I am of the opinion that judges have a comfort zone. So, players call a judge, and we come over, we have them out. The tournament organizer calls help, we go, and we provide answers to their problem. Judges are very used to giving answers. We are very comfortable when we're giving answers. However, I find that effective tournament reports lie outside the judge's comfort zone. Such tournament reports involve asking the right questions in order to obtain not the right answer, but better answers. Carefully craft and insert questions into your tournament report which facilitate discussion in the forum where you post them. If you're not happy with the ruling on the hidden card error that was discussed earlier in Weekend's presentation, there's probably a better fix. You may not have the best answer at the time you write your tournament report. When Scott Marshall posts his comment on your report, there's some possibility that he doesn't have the best answer either. The best answer is out there somewhere. However, there's still an answer better than what Word mentioned. The one that gives an insurmountable advantage to the player because he gets to see the entire deck and picks the best card. There's probably a fix that's better than that. It's out there somewhere. And it can be found with input from all the judges that are giving their comments in the discussion. So, it's okay to know the textbook answer to rules and policy questions. It's okay to state that in your report to educate other judges, but don't wrap your head around that answer. Don't grow attached to that answer. Ask the right questions in your report to find better answers. If we grow comfortable with a stock answer, how do we make any progress? The judge program will just be SS. If we grow comfortable with a stock answer, how do we know when, in this particular situation, it's time to deviate? So asking the right questions. Step out of your comfort zone. When I was making my first tournament report earlier this year, I had the privilege of being assisted by several judges in the Philippines. With you and 2 other veteran level 1 judges who were helping me write my report. So they sent the report back to me a total of 3 times. So the feedback was varied across the 3 times they sent it back to me, and none of the feedback that they gave me said like do it again. It was short of it was all like the first one was too long, didn't read, and then the second one was your report is perfect for somebody like you who has a legal background, but we're magic judges. Okay? Your report is useless to us. And that was what was said to me the second time I gave. And then the last one, they said like, stop talking to yourself. Start talking to your audience. And eventually, after 3 revisions, my report they allowed me to put up my report in the forums. Perfecting a tournament report is not done overnight. It's not done by burning the midnight oil and writing the tournament report from start to finish in one night, posting it, and then praying that the discussion on your tournament report is going to be great. What matters though is that with every revision, your tournament report becomes better. Publishing your report. I know that for you to fulfill your requirements to become level 2, you have to post the report in the forums, on judge apps and stuff like that. But really, I hope that when you write tournament reports, you take this opportunity to stick your head out the window and tell the judge community, hey, I have a story, and that story has a lesson that we can all apply in future tournaments. And that lesson can make future tournaments better. How do you do that? You try to maximize exposure on your report. Try to draw people to make comments. Try to respond to those comments in a prompt manner. If you want to go a step further, QJ provides excellent opportunities for you to feature your reports on the Battlefield Forge.
Yes, please do.
Oh yes.
Please.
Yeah, please do. So then, QJ will waste no time getting an editor to work on your report and publishing your report on this website. So I hope that through my simple presentation, I was able to give even those who have written tournament reports in the past some tools that you can use for future tournament reports that you will be writing. So I believe I have 5 minutes. So anyone?
I'm confused. The Hispanic Cavalry's report good or bad?
It's good. It's very hard to put down.
Because you sounded like you were both. I know the good part. I enjoyed reading it as well.
Yeah, it's great.
The fact that he described everything and then he said, oh, they were actually father-son, which was like, oh. But then he also said stuff like, it's hard to, that the report is hard to quantify.
Yeah, it's hard to put down.
Yeah, put down. So
yeah, it's hard to put down. Meaning when you start reading it, you don't put it down.
Oh, okay.
Because you're reading from beginning to end.
Okay, see, I'm not the first one. You have.
Okay. Sorry, look.
All right, no worries.
Anybody else? Okay. Thank you.
I think it's top down instead of top.
Yeah, that's what Logo would say. Yes, PJ.
Can you summarize why would we want to write a report if we don't really need to? L2 plus.
L2 plus. Why do we want to write a report if we don't really need to? Okay, so level 2 judges judge in big tournaments all over the world. Oh well, at least judge in big tournaments in your country. You're required to judge 2 competitive rel events every 6 months. Or?
Sure.
6 months in order to maintain your status as level 2. You go to GPs, you judge on the floor of GPs. The odds of you picking up something that the judge community can benefit from is far greater if you're L2 plus. I know there's no longer that requirement for you to be writing tournament reports when you're L2 plus, but there's value in what you acquire at the GP. And that is something that you should be sharing. At least I hope you find time to share it to the rest who don't have that opportunity to learn as much. And I hope, as what QJ mentioned, please, we have published weekly reports. I still do your report on a weekly basis. But
As much as we can.
please send us your reports. Yes? No idea. A report is can be as short as long as you want. Just make sure that it achieves the purpose for which it was intended. Just make sure that your report contains something that the rest of the people reading the report will benefit from. Because when you click judge apps, you'll see there repeated threads and something, and then it will say tournament reports. And then the last post by. And then some people, there was this guy in the States who messaged me, named Joe Weisenberg. He tells me that he regularly checks that particular section of the Judge Apps forums and reads tournament reports. And that's how we got some submissions also at the Battlefield Forge. Judges read these all the time. Maybe you don't, but there are a lot of judges who read the tournament reports section of the Judge Apps forums and the blog all the time. So when you write a report, it doesn't have to be a novel. Just write what is necessary for you to be able to share your lesson with others. Next.
Just add, if you don't read tournament reports, you should.
Alright.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So one of the things I just want to add about people writing on reports, one of my pet peeves about reading some reports, when people, one of my pet peeves is when people do not put in the lessons that they learned from an event and give details about it. And the way I decide whether the details are there are enough or not is when I think to myself, are there questions that I can ask based on what you said in the report? So for example, very often people say, I learned a lot from this event from my mentor. Full stop. So the question I will then ask is, what did you learn? So if you tell me that you learned a lot, but you don't tell me what you actually learned, then I don't know that you actually did learn from that event. Or what were the lessons or things that you took away from that event? If your mentor taught you about tech checks, what did they teach you? I learned about tech checks at this event. What did you learn?
Tech checks are.
How to grab the neck.
You as the writer, in your head, you have an idea of what it is that you learned. But saying that I learned something doesn't help other people what it is exactly that you learned. It doesn't help you to teach other people. It's like saying, yeah, I learned about maths yesterday. So by telling you I learned about maths, you learned something about maths, right? No. I just learned that you learned something, but it doesn't actually help me as a reader to figure out what actually happened. So like what Ben was saying, part of the tournament report, the idea is for you to teach someone based on what you learned. The only way you can actually teach someone is to tell them what exactly you learned, or what exactly someone taught you. Just saying that, yeah, I learned about that checks. So again, like I said, the way I analyze and decide if there is enough detail in what you're saying is like, do I have reasonable follow-up questions to your statement or to your report? So if you say, I learned about tech checks, what did you learn? I learned about the Australian method, okay? And what did you learn about the Australian method? I learned that it's useful for this kind of format, and it helps speed up your tech checks. Helps you save time, etc. Now that's where you start teaching other people why the Australian tech check method is good. In case I'm going into Dennis's topic, sorry.
Alright, I'll just add something to what Wern said. Wern said it's very good for you to emphasize what you learned, and that is correct. Also, to facilitate retention, so that the player, the judge reading your report will remember, tell them how you learned it. Tell them what makes the Australian method great and how you learned that at the tournament. That will make them remember why it's awesome and apply it in future tournaments. Yes, Nikki, you were raising your hand.
Okay. And just one more thing about writing reports. Now, although we say that writing reports is important because it helps you teach other people, helps you mentor other people. One of the reasons why we also want you to write tournament reports is because it helps you make sure that you are learning exactly what it is. You remember what it is that you learned from those events you were at. This is the same reason why we say, when you write reports, please write down notes so that you remember. Because very often people will learn things. All of us have been students before, right? Yes, you've gone to school, gone to university, gone to college. You have learned stuff. You've also forgotten stuff. If you don't write these things down, then the chances of you remembering them become less. So that's one of the reasons why you write the tournament report. Not only to tell other people your experiences and teach them, also to remind yourself of the lessons that you have learned from your experiences. So you can perhaps 6 months down the road, 1 year down the road, you go back to your report. Oh yeah, I forgot about this thing that I learned last time, which I could have used last month at my WMCQ. So it serves as a reminder. Okay. That's exactly the same kind of usefulness that you have writing reviews. Except that writing reviews, of course, reviews are private stuff that you write for yourself, other people don't see. Tournament reports are stuff that you write, other people can see. They can also give you feedback on whatever it is that you've written, whatever it is that you've learned. Sometimes you write something and you think, I screwed up because of this. And someone will actually come to you and say, you know, actually, you actually did something really good and you just did not look at it from a different perspective. So that's one of the good things about writing tournament reports as well. Okay. Yeah, Nikki.
Sorry, I want to ask, can you write a report when you're not judging the event, like if you're a player or you're a people or you're just an observer?
Well, I don't know the hard and fast rule on that, but if you were to ask me, I would say that go ahead and write it. If you learn something and the judges community can pick up something from what you learned at the tournament, please. It's a valuable contribution to the rest of the community. So, yes, Paul?
Yeah, just to add, for the L2 class, writing tournament reports is a good practice in getting your reviews done, especially your self-reviews. Basically, the practice that you do when writing a report, to get a tournament report done, it can be applied directly to your self-reviews or to other people's reviews. Just that the focus change from tournament to a single judge. So in terms of self-review, the focus change to yourself, that's all. But all the preparations, all the techniques, etc. in writing a tournament report applies directly to writing a review as well.
All right, thank you, Ben.